and they're changing out all the beach board stores and we had a discussion on it, yeah.
Maybe see good front. Maybe see good front. Hello? Hello?
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm not going to walk down the aisle here and talk at the same time. So my name is Bobby Klug, and I'm the director of our Somerset-Pulaski County Chamber of Commerce. We have a lot of people to thank, but first and foremost, I'd like to thank Mr. Charlie Brock, and I'd like to thank Somerset High School for opening up their auditorium tonight and allowing us to be here. It looks, if you look around, it looks like there's nobody here because this auditorium is huge, but there's about 150, 160 people here right now. So I want to thank you all for coming out and listening to our presentation tonight. Also, there is a lot of food out there, and I want to thank Karen Medley and Karen's Catering for taking care of us tonight. They provided all of the food out there for free for this event. And yes, absolutely, thank you. Karen wanted me to remind you that the holidays are just around the corner, and they are already booking, oh, my phone's ringing. I better turn that off. They are already booking holiday parties now, so go ahead and keep them in mind for that. So, what are we doing here tonight? I recently had my second daughter, so I have a 4-year-old, and now I have a two-month-old. And one of the things that's constantly on my mind is keeping my 2 little girls safe. I think about that more and more now than I ever did a few years ago. And when I think about things like Parkland, Florida, and I think about some of the problems that we have in this country, I want to do everything I can to make sure that they're safe. And Chief Hunt actually contacted me and was talking to me about the possibility of doing some sort of an active shooter presentation at one of our chamber luncheons. And we determined that it probably wouldn't give him enough time to actually do a complete program. So we decided to do this in an after-hours format to give him a little bit more time. So we're gonna, this will last for about an hour and a half. At any point, if anybody needs to leave, get up, use the restroom, go get a drink, have some food, I completely understand. But the program, I can tell you, is there's going to be a couple of interactive parts. And I want to thank everybody for coming out. It's a very important topic. And unfortunately, it's unfortunate that we even have to have this training, in all sincerity. But Chief Hunt is very knowledgeable in this space. And I really appreciate him taking the time for he and his staff of officers to come out and be with us tonight. So I have very little else that I can contribute to this conversation tonight. I'm going to turn everything over to Chief Hunt. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Robert.
Well, here's my first official mic check, so I'm kind of waiting to see. Can everybody hear me okay in the back? Larry, we're good? Got much of a feedback there, Lieutenant? Good? All right. Well, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out tonight. It's pleasing to see that it's such a good community response, that you guys are taking it serious and wanting to get this information out. Our goal is just that. We want to get this information out to our community to help be a better prepared community. One of the things that I say quite often is we don't want to live in a state of panic, we want to live in a state of preparedness. And that's what coming tonight will hopefully help you do. I'll be shocked if you don't leave here tonight learning something. Some of you may be familiar with active shooter response, some of you may not. By show of hands, how many of you have been exposed to some type of active shooter training? So probably a little less than half. My guess is those that have been exposed, you'll probably see something new and different tonight. And obviously those that have not, you should pick up several things. But, as Bobby said, my name is William Hunt. I'm the Chief of Police with Somerset Police Department. And first I would like to do a few thank yous to echo what Bobby said. I'd like to thank the Chamber staff and the Chamber ambassadors for helping put this on tonight and facilitate it. And I'd also like to thank Bobby Clue for having the foresight to recognize that this was a need for our business community. I understand there are people across the community here. I've heard of people that's here from churches, hospitals, and other businesses, and I believe even our local community colleges here as well. So we do have an array of different people, but the primary group is the business, local businesses. Also, before I forget, I don't know if Mr. Brock's still here or not. It's kind of hard to see him back in the room, but I definitely want to thank the Somerset School System for allowing us to use their facilities tonight. What you're going to hear tonight is the current national model for civilian response to an active shooter. What I have learned, unfortunately, is just like with anything in life, when something new comes out, people want to monopolize on it and they want to make money on it. So don't get confused if you're at your business, you have people approach you or your business and they want to do training for you to make money. Our program is the national model, the Run, Hide, Fight program. If you see a company come into your business and they're saying it's something completely different, what you'll notice a lot of them will say it's the hide out, get out, fight out, or something very similar to the same verbiage as the Run, Hide, Fight. So don't get hung up on that. It's probably very similar, but just the verbiage is different so they could market it and monopolize on their program. Hopefully tonight when we are done, you will have a better understanding of this Run, Hide, Fight program. And the one thing we definitely want you to understand when you leave tonight with this program is, one, it's very simplistic. You're not going to be sitting back thinking, man, this is stuff I never even thought of or dreamed of. It's simple, it's basic, and it's that reason for a purpose. When you're in a high-stress situation, you don't want something complicated to do. You want something simple so you can immediately relate to it and complete it. So we didn't want to convolute this and make it difficult so that if you're in a stress situation, you're trying to think what to do. This isn't a Rubik's Cube, it's simple. Our first slide we'll go to is basically what most people refer to as active shooter. We like to use the verbiage of violent critical incidents. A violent critical incident is any event at any location where a person or persons attempts to harm innocent people by any means or regardless of motivation. The reason we use that definition instead of the standard active shooter definition, if you've noticed in this country, it's came from overseas slowly, but on these mass attacks, it's not always a gun involved. You see more and more people using edged weapons. In New York, they've been hatchet attacks, they've been machete attacks, they've been schools where people have used box cutters and just standard knives. You're also beginning to see more attacks to the community with vehicles, which has gradually made its way to our country as well. So a critical incident is basically a person trying to harm a lot of people by some means. One of the good things we're seeing now, though, is survival is always based on one of two outcomes. The event is either taken back under control by those who can render the event no longer dangerous, or people remove themselves from the danger area and get to a safe area. What we're saying there is, on the first one, especially in school systems, the old program that was taught nationally was basically the standard lockdown, a get down, stay down program. And that was eventually changed. Once we started teaching the new curriculum, what we started seeing happen across this country were more of these incidences were being stopped by students and staff members of schools before the police even arrived, because we started adding things to this program other than just getting down and staying down in a locked room. And the number two part of that is basically self-explanatory. If you remove yourself from an area where danger is occurring, you're much less apt to be a victim of that danger. And that's in the run aspect that we'll touch on here in just a minute. One thing that you'll see a lot of people do in active shooter presentations is they'll spend a lot of time on the definition of an active shooter and the history of active shooters. Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to try to condense everything I have tonight into an hour and a half. We don't have time for that. In today's time, everybody knows what an active shooter is. There's really not a point in spending a lot of time on defining that. But the one thing you do need to know about that is most criminals fit some type of profile. Active shooters do not have a set profile. They can be anyone of any sex, religion, race, or national origin. They've not been one set profile for any active shooter. And the one thing we want you to realize is also, it can happen anywhere. And what I mean by that is, if you've seen it on the news, it's happened at churches, businesses, schools, and government locations. So, and it's even hit our own state recently. So it definitely can happen here in Kentucky. This is a photo of the Mandalay Bay shooting that occurred in Las Vegas. We are going to play a very short video. It's a cell phone video that was recorded at this shooting. What I want you to pay attention to is the audio of this video. Do not pay really that much attention to the actual video itself. I want you to attempt to listen to what you hear people saying. That's what we want you to pick up from this video. Lieutenant, you'll play the video. Normally we do this class in a much smaller setting, so I'll be a little more interactive with the audience. With the audience this size, it's a little hard to do, so I want to ask you some rhetorical questions. But what did you hear? I hope you heard a lady or ladies saying, "Get down, stay down." My rhetorical question for you is why? Why is that the first thing that comes to our mindset as human beings? Well, we have a theory to that. It's not a proven theory, but it makes sense. When you were coming up in grade school, what was one of the first things that you were taught in a dangerous situation in school? You were typically taught to go to your desk, get under your desk, get down, and cover your head. Or you may have been taught to go into the hallway and do the same. Get down, cover your head. That's something that was taught to you during your upbringing. Another thing you can think about is look at Hollywood. Look at movies, TV shows. What do you see on almost every robbery of a bank when the bad guy comes in? He says, "Get down." It's been pumped into our head through television, through our upbringing, and it's a little bit, goes back to a natural human instinct of freeze, fight, or flight. So it's kind of the freeze aspect to get down. But we have learned that that is not the best thing to do in these situations. What we're getting ready to do is a quick little, I'll say, drill with the audience. Now, this may sound a little bit odd coming from the police, but I'm going to ask that you trust me. Hopefully you will, but we're going to conduct a drill called the Get Down, Stay Down drill. We want you to experience what it feels like in this drill, the whole lockdown situation. What I want you to do as an audience is, one, trust me, no one's going to touch you, no one's going to harm you, but we want you to look at the floor and close your eyes. When everyone is looking down and you have your eyes closed, here's what I want you to, for this drill to be successful, it depends on how much you participate. It works better with a small group, But for this group, I want you to just close your eyes and look down and get in the mindset of a child in school. Or think of yourself in your workplace, and you're at work and you've heard something. You've heard something similar that you don't know what it is. You've heard something and you don't know what that sound is. You hear maybe someone banging on the door, but you don't know where the noise is. You hear people screaming. You hear people pleading for their lives while you're sitting there and you can't, and you're stuck in that position. All right, now, if everyone will look back up. Usually this is where I get a lot of interaction from the audience. But this is what I usually hear from people. And obviously it works better if we turn the lights out and we're in a much more confined room. But what I commonly hear is this. They didn't like that. They didn't like it because they felt helpless. But some people say they get angry because they want to fight. They want to do something. And they don't like that not being permitted to do anything. And Columbine was a good example of this. At Columbine, if you remember, there's a 911 audio tape of the librarian. And on that recording, you can hear the librarian screaming at the students in the library, telling them to get down and stay under their desk. The reason they did that was because they had someone of authority telling them to stay in that place. They felt helpless. They felt like they weren't permitted to do anything. One of the young ladies was about the length of this stage from an exit door from that school. She could have ran out that door and got away and been perfectly safe. Once we started interviewing, the police started interviewing people and finding these type of things out, that's when they realized just getting down and staying down is not the best option. There's two other main options, and that's the running, getting out of the area, and the fighting. And that's what we're going to get into now. But for this audience, I want to ask you a question. Where do you think most active shooter events take place? Other than the drill going off in the background, it's not part of the program. But construction's got to go on. For this audience, it might surprise you. The media would probably lead you to believe it's schools and churches because they get the most media's attention. You guys, as a business audience, are at 46% most likely to have an active shooter. Look at the school beside it. Schools, let's go back. Schools, 25%. Churches, only 4%. But that's probably not what you would have thought because the media gives the most attention to those other areas. Another thing that's a little bit of a fallacy, and I'm not here to advocate gun rights for anybody or to be against them, but this weapon here, the media has also wanted people to believe that is the weapon of choice for active shooters. That's not true either. The most common weapon used in active shooter incidences is handgun. And most commonly is because they're the easiest to obtain and they're the easiest to conceal and take into a workplace. So just wanted to take care of a myth there. It is handguns. Something you need to know about active shooters is 98% of the time, they act alone. And that's going to be very important to you when we discuss the run, hide, fight aspect of this program. Typically, it's only one shooter. There have been a few instances where there was two. 98% of the time, only one. 75% of gunshot victims in this country survive. 75%. That's a big number. But guess what? In active shooter incidences, only 40%. Now, a lot of people say, why? Why is there such a big difference? It goes back to what we talked a minute ago about the get down, stay down. When they were walking through and they were taking little foam balls and throwing them and hitting some of you, that was to simulate you got shot with a weapon. If someone came in this room and you did the get down, stay down, and that's all you did, guess what? They could shoot everyone in this room until they ran out of bullets. They would have a 100% hit ratio. Well, one of the reasons why active shooters only 40% survive is because in the whole get down, stay down, for the hunters in the room, how hard is it to shoot a deer that stands still versus a deer that's running? It's common sense. In the old, I believe it was the Sandy Hook shooter, he was out practicing at his local range where he did his gun practicing. When he was there, he was taking targets and he was laying them out on the ground. He wasn't shooting at a target like a normal person. He was walking and shooting targets like this while he walked around. Why? Because he expected people to do the get down, stay down. It's not hard to shoot somebody if you just sit and let them do it. So that's why there's such a big difference in the survivability rate. I'm hoping with this new program, we're going to see that number go up immensely because people aren't just getting down and staying down any longer. One of the most important things we'll discuss outside of the actual points of the run, hide, fight is what your notification is and what a notification is. We're going to play another really quick video. It is another one from the Mandalay Bay shooting. Once again, it's another audio purpose. I want you to hear what someone says. Remember what you heard, and I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But on notifications, what we mean by notification is the only thing that you have that alerts you that there's a shooting or something going on. A notification can be as simple as a PA announcement in a business or school system. It can also be the sound of gunfire. It could be someone screaming, loud noise of any type. For schools and college campuses, we see text alerts, emergency notifications through one calls, intelligent projectors, or visual notifications. Visual notifications are more in medical facilities. You'll see these lights hanging from the ceiling. A certain color light may indicate a certain thing. Another thing is smart boards. We see those in school systems a lot, that they'll put out announcements. There's many ways to give out notifications something is wrong. But you know what is normal where you work. I do not. If people from Citizens Bank, I don't know if this is normal or not, but if you see George go running down the hallway screaming, saying, "Get out, get out, get out," I don't know if that's normal, but I would assume it is not. That may be the only notification you get. One of the most important things is whatever your notification is, you do not dismiss it. We try to rationalize these things in our brains as humans because we don't want to accept the fact that something dangerous is getting ready to happen. You heard the guy in the video say what at the end? It's just fireworks. It's just fireworks, guys. Just stay where you're at. They were dismissing it. That could have been his one and only mistake. I got to meet a lady who was a survivor at the San Bernardino shooting in California. They had done active shooter training in their company, but they were having a Christmas party. I don't know if you know this or not. They were having a large Christmas party for their building. During the party, they heard 2 big pops. That was their only notification they got. And guess what they said? They're emptying the dumpster. It's just the dumpster, never mind. Their next notification was the husband and wife coming in the door, and they began to shoot everyone. So I cannot express enough, and you'll probably hear me hear it other times throughout the presentation. You cannot dismiss your notification. It may be the only notification you get. Another little quick drill we're going to do. As you guys heard earlier, that was a .38 caliber pistol being fired outside the room. Some of you may have heard gunshots your whole life. Some of you have maybe never heard a gunshot. But probably fewer of you have ever heard a gunshot inside a building. What we're getting ready to do now is we're going to let you experience what gunfire sounds like in the building. We're going to do it right outside in the lobby, 2 shots, right outside these doors, so you can hear it close to you. Then we're going to do it again in the front office area. So it'll be similar to being in a workplace, your office door closed, another office door closed, and a little bit of distance. Then we're going to be on the 2nd floor of this school on the north side near the Board of Education building to see if you can even hear it. And we'll see if my guys are ready. Hopefully they will be. 3, 2, you ready? Go ahead. Now keep in mind, this is a quiet auditorium. I don't know what workplace noise you normally have. Unit 5, are you ready? Go ahead. Did you hear it? Yeah. Unit 8, are you ready? Go ahead. And Joe's a show off, he did 3. So, there's a few points to this. Did it sound like you thought it would? Some of you maybe, maybe not. Could you have told much of a difference between that and a book being dropped? I was at a local business, actually, I was leaving business, I don't want to give away where it was, but I was in an office. And while I was talking to the gentleman, we heard a big noise. And my eyes got big, his eyes got big, and I looked at him, and I said, you know what that was? And he said, no, I don't. I said, you think we might ought to find out? And he said, I guess we should. And we went and looked. And it was a filing cabinet that fell over. But that is no different than San Bernardino. That could just as easily have been a shooter. And if we hadn't went and looked, we wouldn't have had near as much chance. Some of you are probably saying, why do I want to go look to see where the gun guy is? That's crazy. I'm not going to go toward him. I'm going to get out. Well, if you know it is a gun, yes, absolutely get out. But if it's one of these deals, you can't tell really what it was, and you're just wanting to get an idea, go look. Here's why. San Bernardino, if they had went out in the hallway and looked, they could have seen them coming down the hallway. They could have exited out of the back of that room, and very few people would have lost their life. That's the big difference. That's why if you get a notification, don't dismiss it, do something. Remember, doing something is better than doing nothing. We are now going to move into the actual run, hide, fight concept. We have a short 5-minute video that kind of does a summarization of the program. Once it's over, we're going to break down each piece of the program.
Active shooter events can occur anywhere at any time, and frequently involve individuals attempting to kill others indiscriminately. These events are unpredictable and can evolve quickly. For this reason, whenever you enter a building as an employee, guest, or customer, you must be prepared and know what it is you will do if faced with the worst case scenario, even if it's just another day at the office.
Last night, every time I closed my eyes, all I could see were slide decks.
Don't remind me.
Sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything?
Hey, you got a minute to catch me up on that thing?
Yeah, come on in. Is Amelia here too?
Let me go.
Yeah, thank you.
When startled by a gunshot, it's a natural human reaction to freeze. Unfortunately, this response leaves you vulnerable to what might come next. If you see someone frozen in place in this type of situation, make your best attempt to assist them.
I think it's critical that we find a way to make sure this doesn't happen again. You wasted way too much time.
That's gunfire.
Are you sure that was a gunshot?
That's gunfire.
Is it really a gunshot? Call the police.
If you can't easily evacuate, the best option is to hide. Lock the door, stay close to the ground, and try to find cover from any stray gunfire that may penetrate the walls. If you're able, call 911.
What was that?
Sounded like a gunshot. What should we do?
Come on, let's get out of here.
When possible, the best alternative in an active shooter event is to run. If your path is clear and you can safely reach an exit, evacuate as soon as possible. Of course, some may not have such easy access to a safe exit. In these situations, you must decide for yourself whether it is best to evacuate or to hide. As with any of these options, if you do choose to run, commit to this action. And remember, police will be arriving to assist you and to evacuate the wounded, so be sure to keep your hands up and empty as you clear the building. Otherwise, put simply, don't stop running. Once clear of danger, make contact with 911 to assist their response by providing them information about the shooter, the weapons they're carrying, and the amount of wounded that may still need medical assistance. If you have been unable to evacuate and are trapped in the facility during an active shooter situation, remember, making the decision to hide does not prevent you from putting up a fight later. If you are confronted by the active shooter, you have to assume that your actions are all that stand between yourself, your colleagues, and grave harm. Fight for your life. Search around you for sharp or heavy objects that you may use to disable the attacker. Collaborate with those around you to ensure you aren't acting alone. You're taking action for your survival, so do not hold back, and do not stop fighting until you know beyond certainty that you are safe. Committing to run, to hide, or to fight will keep you safe even if you freeze during the crisis. Remember to prioritize your safety. If you come across those who are wounded and may need assistance, assist them if you can, but do not let them inhibit your escape. As an individual, the most important thing you can do to keep yourself safe, whether it is to run, hide, or to fight, is to commit to your decision and to continuously reevaluate the situation. If you own a business or operate a large public facility, you may be able to better enable individual response to such events by identifying emergency escape routes and exits. Use this information to design evacuation plans that can be used by employees and guests to your facility. Reach out to law enforcement to see if they'll come to your facility and assist you in drafting your response plan or guide you to training that may assist employees in their survival. Remember, this training may be the difference between life or death. See about technology you may be able to incorporate to make your facility safer, which may include audio or visual cues for those with access and functional needs. Plan for and train your employees to assist those who may not be able to run, hide, or fight. Equip them with a first aid or a go kit, an emergency ladder in case you're not on the first story, and explore the possibility of mass notification technologies, which may enable you to alert those in the area of any present dangers. Of course, the hope is that neither you nor any of your friends or colleagues will ever be confronted with an active shooter situation. However, should the worst case occur, know that you can always run, hide, or fight.
Okay, we're going to break this down just a little bit further for you. The run aspect of the program is what we're going to discuss now. It is the preferred response. Common sense. If you get out of the area, you're less likely to be harmed. That's what we want you to do, if at all possible. But the key point to your employees is they need to understand they have the authority to leave. We don't want this to be another Columbine where you have employees staying in place and getting killed because they was afraid they would get in trouble if they left their work area. All your employees need to understand they can get out of the area. Leave belongings behind. Ladies, I see this, I've seen videos on this. Don't go back for your purse. Guys, don't go back for your phone. Whatever the items is, this is something you need to understand. Active shooters are not there to rob you. They're there to kill you. They don't care what you're carrying. They don't care if you've got a Gucci, Prada, Coach, whatever kind of purse you got. They're there to harm you, not to take your belongings. If the shooter's location is unknown and you're running, something to keep in mind is if you're in a building with corners and you can't see beyond the corners, don't just blindly run around the corner. You're apt to run right into the shooter. When you get to a corner, if this was my corner and I ran up to it, I would slowly get to the corner and peek around slowly. That way, as soon as I saw it was clear, I would keep running. However, if I saw the shooter, I still have time to turn around and go the other way. So you don't want to run into them. Don't run blindly. Rally points. This is more appropriate for schools, but it can also be applied with businesses. Let's say you're a business and you have a rally point set up if your employees leave or go off site, a place where you all can get back together and you can do a roll call to see who's still in the building.